Today's video, we'll be looking at the Power Mac G5.
We review all technology from games to all PCs, and don't forget the toys. Don't get ancient electronics. We cover it all.
This is my Power Mac G5. Now, I've had this guy for a couple years now, but I've kind of hit a roadblock with it. So I'm just gonna do the video and we'll see where it takes us. Now, this right here is kind of a special model of the Power Mac G5, and I think it's pretty sought after general among Macs. I haven't checked prices lately, but this is the model from late 2005. Arguably maybe the most powerful. It's not the fastest, but it may be the most powerful. So what we have in here, stock from the factory, is dual. Well, they call it like a quad core, but it's not a quad core. It's dual core G5s in there at 2.5 gigahertz. Now, I believe there were some earlier models that were running at like 2.7 gigahertz, but I think it might have been like one dual core CPU or something like that. I believe this one, although not quite as fast, it may be more powerful just because you've got more CPU cores. So you have two CPUs running in SMP, I believe, processing, and then both of those CPU are dual core CPUs. So two dual core CPUs, guess kind of like quad core. This is also factory water cooled, which is both a blessing and a curse, I guess. You know, it's superior cooling to air. But if something goes wrong with it, it's also harder to replace, and the potential damage from the cooling system malfunctioning is worse than if it was air-cooled. Now, the previous owner said he did check this thing prior to giving it to me, and there weren't any leakages, but I believe with some of the early models, there were some issues with the water cooling system in there in general, and it leaking. But so far, I haven't seen any signs of this thing leaking, but we'll get into that later. So anyways, yeah, this thing it's kind of sought after. I've seen a lot of videos in the past of people wanting to get a hold of these. Try to get them locally if you can, because if you can see here, these I don't know if you want to call them handles, but you've got one here, and then on the back, and then you have two at the bottom, one here and then one at the rear. And in shipping, these tend to break or get crushed. So you want to be careful with that. You really want to get one locally. I lucked out, and I knew a guy, a fellow collector, and he kind of donated this machine to me. So that's really cool. You want to try to get them local, because I have seen so many videos on the internet of people getting these things off eBay or from, you know, across the country or wherever, and then they always show up just destroyed.
That is so unfortunate. The damage so far is purely cosmetic, but this is exactly what happens, folks. This is the most common type of G5 damage that you see.
Alright, so you can better see now the damage to the top handle right here. It's also bent right here as well, so the whole thing's pushed over to the side. We'll take a look at the bottom here, and that's where the real damage has occurred. Look at that. The feet are completely smashed up into the bottom of the case. Tore off the rivets down there. So yeah, my recommendation to all of my YouTube viewers that are watching this video right now, never ever ever buy one of these from eBay, because no one seems to know how to ship something this heavy.
With these little, I don't know what you call them, handles or whatever, all caved in and cracked and broke. Although I have to say, this whole case is aluminum, so these cases will probably outlast, well, almost definitely outlast all of us. It will be 100,000 years in the future, and aliens or squid people will be digging these things up and wondering what we had put in them. So I don't believe aluminum rusts, and it's pretty durable. So yeah, I'm just going to go over this guy really quick. Very sort of minimalist case here with what we got going on. It's just kind of like a grill case, probably for better airflow. Not much going on. We have a CD drive right here, or a DVD drive, whatever you want to place in there. Of course, because it is an Apple product, there's no like easy eject button, so you know, you can run into issues there if you can't get into the OS getting that thing to eject. Apple and their over engineering. But anyways, power button right here. It is a good looking case. It weighs way too much for what it is. It is very heavy. If you're kind of on the precipice of being an old man like me, it can be a pain to move around. Quite heavy. But it is nice and resistant to damage and time. But here we have a jack for a headset or whatever. And then below that we have a USB and then FireWire. I'm not super familiar with FireWire, but I believe that is FireWire 800. So let's flip it around and take a look at the back. Alright, and here we have the rear of the system. Again, very much like the front, with it's just this perforated kind of holes throughout the case, which is kind of cool. I assume that really does help with airflow. Right here we have like this little latch lever. If you pull it up, it will pop the side off. It's actually very convenient. I really like that. There's no screws. There's not even any thumb screws. You just pull this up, pops right off, and it kind of stays up, and then when you put it on, you just put it on and push it, and the latch goes back down. Really nice. Really like that. I don't know what this is exactly. It doesn't come out or anything. 1, 2, 3, 4 expansion slots. There's PCIe in there. I don't believe the earlier models had PCIe. I believe it was PCI and AGP for video, although I could be wrong. 2 exhaust ports for air with fans. Ethernet right here. I believe these are both Ethernet. Okay, I believe this is FireWire 800 and this is 400. So there's a FireWire 400 port on the front and back, and I believe this one right here is 800. 2 optical audio jacks, 2 more sort of analog speaker jacks, and then we have 3 USB 2.0. The front is also 2.0. And then at the very bottom we have the 3-prong power connector, which is proprietary, because God forbid Apple make a computer and they don't have like a simple established port or jack or whatever, and it's not going to be turned to being proprietary or weird, whether it's freaking okay, never mind. Anyways, so yeah, it's I believe it's just physically different, so maybe that's not proprietary, but anyways, you need a power cable like this. See how the it's just different. Hold on here. This is a standard one, so this is what they usually look like, okay? And then this is the one for Apple. So they just kind of like changed the direction of how the prongs go. This one's more like vertical, and the Apple one's more horizontal. It seems like it's pretty pointless to do that. Is there an advantage to it being like that? I don't know. But you know, I think it's just Apple being Apple. So anyways, alright, enough of that. So let's move on. Actually, I think we'll start with the upgrades, because the upgrades I did to this I actually did some time ago. So we'll go over the video card upgrade and the RAM. I maxed the RAM out. So this guy takes a whopping 16 gigabytes of DDR2, and I believe this is the only G5 model that takes DDR2 and 16. I believe the earlier ones only took 4 gigabytes of DDR. So yeah, in 2005, 16 gigabytes of DDR2 is massive. But Apple has always been like big on, like, it just seems that Apple machines always took like 2 or 3 times what was standard for RAM at the time. So yeah, that's a massive upgrade. So let's take a look at those upgrades. Oh, look at him on the pillow next to the pile of clothes, peacefully. Oh. So when I first acquired this G5 Mac, it actually had no video card. But thankfully, like within a week, I went to like a local electronics recycler, and they usually have a bin with some video cards in it, usually newer cards. Usually it's nothing spectacular, low, mid-range crap. And I did find this. This is actually lower mid-range, I believe. But this was a GeForce, it's been a while, I think it's a 6500 or maybe 6600, I believe. So it's kind of like a low or mid-range GeForce 6. But this is for the Mac. It has, you have the... you have your Mac and PC specific cards. They have certain BIOSes on them. And this happened to be the Mac one. And, I grabbed, I think it was like $3 or $5. And I picked it up, and that's what I used for a while. And it gets the job done. I mean, it gets you into the OS and you can see something on the monitor. But for gaming, it's probably not the best. Like I said, it's really just kind of like a mid-range card. I think this is what came stock with a lot of the lower-end, mid-range G5s. But I wanted something a little bit more powerful. Okay, so as a video upgrade to my G5 Mac, I'm going with this guy. This is a an NVIDIA Quadro 4500. I think it's about the equivalent, a GeForce equivalent of maybe the GeForce 7, I think, like a 7800 or something like that. But this is pretty much one of the fastest cards you can get for a G5 Mac. G5 Macs are weird in like what cards they're compatible with. And I mean, Macs are always kind of like that, but yeah, the G5 is really weird. Like there's, which cards, and they do make Mac specific cards. So there is a Mac specific Quadro 4500 with a special BIOS in it. Unfortunately, they're pretty expensive. This guy right here, this is a PC version of that card, and you can flash them, but it has to be like really specific versions of the card. So this one, I picked this up, by the way, at a swap meet for $10. So if the flash doesn't work out right and it dies, it becomes just a paperweight, I guess. That's not too much of a loss. But anyways, from looking on the internet, what you want to look for is a Quadro 4500 with this sort of L bracket on the back for the RAM. And as far as I can tell, as long as it has this bracket, it is flashable to work with the G5 Mac. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to throw this in a machine, actually the Dell XPS right over there. I'm going to throw this card in, and I looked up how to do this on the internet. I've done this before, but not this with this particular card. I've never actually flashed a PC card to a Mac card before, so first time for that. So hopefully this will work, and then hopefully I'll have one of, if not possibly the best video card for a G5 Macintosh. This should be quite an upgrade over my, I believe it's just the 6600 I have in there right now. So we'll see. Let's cross our fingers and hope it works out. So to do this flash, the information is really easy to find on the internet. This page here even has a link to everything. Now basically what you want to do is make a USB startup disk with DOS on it. It says to use HB USB storage format tool. This is a little old. I tried using that with Windows 10 and I just got a device write error. So I just use a utility called Rufus, and I made myself a DOS startup disk on the USB. And then, there's certain programs, Quadro.rom, NVFlash.exe, and then this one here. And, the instructions are all here. So you get to the DOS prompt and you put this in. That's where I am right now. So here we are. I have the Quadro here in the PCIe, and I just have a Permedia 2, something in the PCI slot here. And I went to the BIOS. I set primary video to PCI, so we're getting the image off the PCI card, but we're going to be flashing this card right here, the Quadro 4500. So, oh, sorry, there's a glare. So there's our line in there, NV flash. -4, -5, -6, -J Quadro.rom, and I'm going to hit enter, and adapter, so it's seeing it appears, and so we just hit yes to confirm. Alright, so that only took a few seconds, and we did get a identifying EEPROM, clearing original firmware, storing updated firmware image, verifying update, and update successful. So I guess all that's left now is to remove the card, put it in the G5 Mac, and pray that it works. Okay, so here we are so far. It's the G5 Quad. We've got 2.5 gigahertz, number of CPUs 4, memory just 1 gigabyte. I need to put more memory in this thing. So let's check the video card. Sorry for the flicker here, but yeah, Quadro FX 4500, PC slot 1 times 16, 512 megabytes. Cool. The flash worked, which is awesome. Resolution 1280 by 1024 at 75 hertz, 32-bit color. Perfect. Awesome. Next, move on to whatever I'm going to do with this thing now. So when it comes to adding RAM to these G5s, at least this model of the G5, make sure you do it in pairs, and it actually starts from these two. And so if you do it like one here and then one there, or I had some trouble getting mine to start when I was upgrading from 1 gigabyte to this 8 gigabytes. And then I found out you have to do them in pairs in a certain way, starting from these most inward ones, and then right here, so that's 8. So I've got 8 more gigabytes. I'm gonna max this thing out to 16 gigabytes, and yeah, that's a lot of RAM. There you can see on the screen there, we've got 16 gigabytes of DDR2, so we've maxed the RAM on this guy. Let's see, right now we've got OS 10, 10.5.8, and then we have, I found a little, previous owner had some kind of like temperature checking program on the desktop. I guess it's called a desktop in Mac OS. I have a couple like older SSDs there, so I might pull the main hard drive and replace it with the SSD. And I also have, I guess it wouldn't hurt to reinstall the OS, so I do have a boxed copy of OS 10 Tiger. So that might be the last kind of upgrade I do to this. Just throw in an SSD and then reinstall the OS. Oh, there it is. 10.4.3, so not quite as, that's 10.4, or that's 10.5.8, so I guess I could always, you know, upgrade it. I don't know. Mac OSs are so weird. There's always like so many little things. I guess Windows 10 is like that now, though. There's not really, it just keeps upgrading Windows 10 to all these versions. Alright, so what is the roadblock I was talking about earlier? Now, you couldn't really tell from like editing and stuff, because I've been working on this machine for like a couple years, like very, very on and off. This machine wasn't really a priority for me. I'd work on a little bit, and then I would sit for months, and then I'd work on a little bit. So doing the video card upgrade and the RAM upgrade, I actually did that like months and months and months ago. But you couldn't tell because of the editing and stuff, but this machine has always had a problem. And looking online, it appears other people have had the same problem, but I interestingly can't really find a solution for it. And that's, if this machine sits for a long period of time and then you plug it in and power it on, it will act normally. You'll get the chime, and you wait, and then, you know, it will boot up and your screen will come up, OS 10, and it will work like normal. And you can run it for hours, and it is fine. No issues. If at any point you turn it off and on again or restart it, it will not boot back up. You will get the chime as if everything is fine, and then you will usually, the first couple times you do it after like a restart or power off and on, it will boot up to just a blank white or gray screen with nothing on it. And nothing will happen. And you won't even get like a sad Mac face or some, nothing, just white. And you'll be like, what's going on? And you'll try powering it off and restarting it. And you might, one or two more times it will get white, which is the white screen. But then eventually you just won't get a video signal at all. You'll just get nothing. And so you power it on. It seems to be going normal. You get a ding at the chime, like everything's good. and then you'll get some like red lights in the diagnostics, and if you wait a little longer, then the fan kicks in, like super loud, like it's going at full blast. And even if you unplug it and let it sit for a couple hours, you'll get the same problem. Like, you have to let it sit for a while before it goes back to where you're able to get into the OS. Now, I've tried everything. I've tried a new, like, battery, like, well, CMOS or PRAM battery in this thing. These models actually just take, like, lithium ones. I've tried replacing that. I've tried, like, zapping it. I've tried all kind of keyboard commands. I've tried to go into, like, safe mode. Nothing works except letting it sit for a really long time, and then, you know, that's your one shot to get in there, which makes, like, I wanted to put in, like, an SSD and, like, reinstall a fresh install of OS 10, but I just haven't been able to do that because of this issue, and I really can't find a solution. Now, looking at the Diagnostic Lights and reading some stuff online, it seems to be overheating issue, which makes sense why if you wait, the fans kick in like super loud. But it's not really consistent with the fact that if I let it sit a long time and then plug it in and power on, it will run just fine for hours. And there is a little that temperature program, everything seems to be running fine. So it doesn't seem to be consistent with overheating, but at least that, I just don't get it, why it works fine that first time after sitting, and you can run it for hours without an issue, and then any, like, reset or power off and on, and it acts like it's overheating. So I don't know what's going on. The other roadblock is I actually don't really have anything to show off on this thing. Like, I don't have any OS 10 games. I have Wingnuts 2, which I wanted to try because on my G4, I did like a full. I don't usually do reviews on games. I'd like to actually do that a little more. But I did do a review years ago on Wingnuts 2, which is like a Mac exclusive. And there are certain parts in that game where a lot was going on that on a G4 there was slowdown. And I really wanted to try it on this machine to see how well it runs, because it should run significantly better. There shouldn't be any slowdown, but I don't know where that game is. I have boxes of big box PC games. That's like in a DVD sort of case, but I cannot find that game. It's been missing. I'm sure it's somewhere around here in a box somewhere, but I have not been able to find it. So I don't even have a game to show on this thing. So I don't, between that and it just being like weird, I don't know what to do or where to go with this thing. So I think what we're going to do, now this has been sitting for about 2 days since I last powered on. So I'm going to hook it up and I'm going to see if I can show you that issue. Hopefully like 2 days has been long enough where it will boot back up. And then after that, if we can get into it, you know, it's just OS 10. There's nothing special about it. I'll just show you it working for a minute. And then maybe I'll try open it up and poking around inside. But I don't think there's not much I can do. I don't know. But that, we might try that just for fun, to look around inside of it. But like I said, I don't think there's really much I can do. But if any of you guys know what's going on with this thing, or what I should do, I would like to get this thing running like normally. Let me know in the comments what you think is going on here. So I'm just going to hook this guy up real quick, and then we'll see if we can actually get into the OS. Alright, so I have it hooked up here to our Sony analog VGA monitor. I do have it connected with one of those kind of DVI to VGA little connector adapter things, and I've done this before. It works fine, and I've got it hooked up with just a standard Apple USB keyboard and Pro mouse. So I'm going to power it on now, and like I said, it's been sitting for like 2 days, so that should be enough time where it will boot up. So let's see here. So okay, we should hear the chime in a minute. Okay, there was the chime if you couldn't hear it. And now we wait, so I'll leave it on the computer here unless something happens on the monitor. Okay, so the monitor just kicked in. It's still black, but I've got a green as it's getting, okay, and then there we go. And there's Apple, and if it gets to this point, yeah, it's going to get into the OS. So it should work fine. Yeah, here we are in the OS. Here we are. Yeah, 2.5 gigahertz, number of CPUs 4, L2 cache 1 megabyte, 16 gigabytes of memory, bus speed 1.25 gigahertz. Yeah, nothing too. I've got two 80 gigabyte hard drives in there right now. Diagnostics, let's see. DVD RW drive. There's our FX 4500, 512 megabytes of RAM. I don't know I didn't put anything on here except for what the previous owner had on here. So let me poke around, see if there's anything interesting we can find. It's also very loud, but I think that's it's not super loud, but it's still pretty loud. But I guess that's normal for these things. So I don't know if you can hear it real well with the camera, but again, not super loud, but louder than most people would like. Alright, so I've kind of just let it sit running idle for about an hour. I don't really see any major differences. I mean, it's gone up a little bit, like 61, but that's happened a couple times and then it drops back down a little bit. Fan speed sounds loud as usual, but kind of consistent. It hasn't really ramped up any. So I don't know if these numbers are to be trusted. But I don't know. It doesn't seem to be consistent with overheating. So yeah, I wanted to just try any game, but I can't even find one of those like dual PC Mac CD games. I know I own a couple, but I don't really see any sitting around. So we'll just turn it off and back on, and I'll pretty much show you what the problem is. Alright, we have our machine. It's been running for over an hour. No issues as far as I can see. So I'm just going to shut it off like normally. Shut down. Alright, are you sure you want to shut down your computer? Yes. So it is going to shut down. Alright, so now watch it make a liar out of me. But okay, running just fine, right? Just shut it down like normal. Now I'm going to power it back on. And it should exhibit the issue I was talking to you about. Watch it not. I mean, I guess I'll be happy if it doesn't, but that would be an anomaly. Usually it doesn't work, so. Whoops, sorry. Powered back on. Everything seems normal so far. We should get the ding chime. Okay, normal. Okay, nothing yet over on the monitor. I see two red lights on inside the case. So you can see there's two red lights that weren't there, and I get no signal. Monitor is working. Input, no signal. Okay, nope. Now it just shut off. And that is the problem this thing's exhibiting. And I don't know what the issue is. Like I said, if you look at the diagnostic light in there, I believe the overheating diagnostic light is on, but we just seen this guy running for over an hour without any issues. All we did is shut it down and power it back on. So why is it suddenly overheating now? And yeah, this is the issue that it's been exhibiting, and I don't know how to correct it. I guess it's okay if I only and then hear the fan kick on really loud, which would make sense for overheating. But I just don't really know how to correct this problem. But I mean, I guess it's not a big deal if you only want to use it now and then for a long period, like use it for a couple hours and then not use it again for a couple days and then use it again for a couple hours. I guess it wouldn't be an issue then, but I don't know. It's really inconvenient. So if any of you guys know what the heck is going on, why it's doing this, just please let me know, because it's I mean, it's a shame because it's a cool machine, but I I just don't know why it's doing this. Yeah, you can hear the difference with the microphone on this camera. It's much louder than before, which would make sense, as I said, with overheating, but I'm just not really sure that's quite the problem. And I also read like maybe pulling out the fan and like reseating everything. I did that and it had no effect. Same issue. All right. And now basically because of that issue, this machine is unusable now for a day or more. I can even wait like several hours and hook it all back up and it still will exhibit the same problem. It usually takes at least a day or two before it will work again. So yeah, I don't know maybe it could have something to do with the power supply, maybe like building a charge. I don't know. I'm desperate for help if any of you guys know what's going on here. And I know dead RAM batteries cause a lot of issues in Macs, at least older ones. Like I said, I've replaced the battery in here, I think more than once. So, and I have like zapped it or whatever it is where you do that keyboard command, and it had no effect. So let's just open it up. Like I said, it's this little latch here. It's pretty neat, super convenient. You just do that, and it comes right off. So that's pretty cool. And all you have to do is you just put it back in, and yeah, I like that. I like that feature. It's pretty neat. Alright, so let's take a look inside this guy. Alright, so here is with the side panel off. If you're ever in question which model you have, you can take that side panel off and you got a lot of information right here. Serial number, you've got some information here. See, quad 2.5, I think 2 gigabytes. I think this is the original specs. 2 gigabytes. It was GeForce 6600 was the original. 500 gigabyte. Well, that's bigger than what I have in here now. I just have 280 gigabytes in here, but I'd like to put an SSD in here if I could ever get this thing working reliably. But big G5, really nice. It's got this plastic kind of cover. There's our DVD drive. Here's a bay right now for 2 hard drive. This doesn't do anything, but it does secure them. SATA drives. Right now I have 280 gigabytes, and this comes off. Now under here, this should be the water cooling unit. 2 fans, fan and speaker. Here's our video card. So it looks like 2 PCI and I think 1 PCIe. I think there's 3 PCI and 1 PCIe slots in this thing, I think. I know this is a PCIe card. Keep in mind, if you're using one of these more powerful graphics cards that has a little power adapter here, you might need to actually buy a power adapter. I had to buy this. Plugs in like right down there, and then it plugs into the card right here. I think I got this adapter cable off eBay, so just keep that in mind if you're using something like this as for a graphics card. You might need this little power adapter, as mine didn't come with it, so I'm guessing maybe they were like an optional thing, and so you're gonna have to get one separately. This is a fan. Now you can just lift this up. It should come right out, but there we go. And there, it just connects right there. Just push it down into there. Yeah, it doesn't even feel, it's like barely warm. Here is our RAM, full RAM, so 16 gigabytes, which is a large amount for 2005 even. That's still a large amount, in my opinion, from what I remember for a 2005 machine. I believe this thing comes out too, not quite as easily. Oh yeah, here we go. I like how it tells you the slots, what, 4 times, 8 times, 4 times, 16 times. So yeah, the number 1 slots are PCIe. I believe, I don't know what else, except I don't really know how to remove this to take a look at the water cooler, guess we could check it for leakage, but I thought there would be signs of that. There's some, yeah, there's some, but that's coming from, whatever that is was through that front grill. So that's not the water cooler. So I'm not sure how to disassemble this thing, but that's the basic overview of it. Alright, well I figured out how to take this G5 like cover plate off. There's just a single screw right there. You just unscrew that and then you pull it this way, pull it that way and up. It comes right off. I don't know what that is. I tried cleaning it off and it's not really coming off. It's like someone threw up on it or something and it splashed through. It's kind of gross, but can't seem to get it up off there. But anyways, so there's the inside of this thing, the liquid cooler. So this is from Delphi, who provided these coolers. Now they are known to have some reliability issues with leaking, unfortunately. Now the last model, the 2.7 gigahertz, I think those are just dual, like a single dual core CPU. I believe those ones, they replaced it with a Panasonic water cooler, which were more reliable than these Delphi ones. But you gotta take what you're given, I guess. And I don't see. I mean, I'd probably have to unscrew and pull this whole thing out to check for leakage. But just a casual visual inspection, I don't see anything like glaringly obvious. It doesn't smell mildewy or anything like that. So I don't know. It's probably okay. Now I have seen that I think you can remove this and you can replace it with a fan, like an air cooling. You can, if you get one that has an air cooler in it, some of the older models, you can pull that out and swap it. Maybe. I don't know with exact models, but yeah, I don't know what's going on with this thing. I would really like to figure it out, but I think this is as far as we're going to take it for this video. So this is just like one of those screws, you know, where it's in like an awkward position that you can't really get a screwdriver on it correctly, and even though it looks like it's lined up correctly and you can push this over a little bit and get it even more precise there, it just doesn't want to screw back in. Don't you hate coming across those screws situations? It's really annoying. And here I've hooked it back up again, because I bet some of you probably want to get a better look at those diagnostic lights on the inside that come on when I'm having that issue after the first successful boot. And I know it's dark and it's hard to see, but I think that one's like I don't know what that one is, like a standard one. And then there's that one there. And I think there's one above it. Here, I put some light on it if that helps. So that one comes on there. And that red one comes on right there. And there you hear the fan just kick in really loud. And that was my quad-core Power Mac G5. Neat machine, but I'm kind of left wondering if I wouldn't be left better off with just one of the slightly slower models that use air cooling. Although I have to say, for what, 2005, 2021, so for a machine that's over 15 years old, I mean, it's still mostly running, so I gotta give it that. As it slowly sinks into the bed. It's certainly not a brittle tosh, as I like to call the older all-plastic Macintoshes. That is it's like they went the complete opposite. That is one hell of a sturdy case that's going to outlive us all. It's all aluminum and it's sturdy. There's really not many like brittle plastic tabs. The plastic inside there's really thick and kind of durable. Very good case construction, but it is too heavy. It's just so ridiculously heavy that it almost negates. It's like I'm almost longing, especially as I get older, I am longing for one of those all-plastic cases that don't weigh very much. But, oh man, harkens back to those IBM cases, all metal. But yeah, again, cool machine, but I don't know what's wrong with mine. if I ever figure it out, I'd like to revisit this guy. I'd like to put in an SSD, you know, load up OS 10, and then, you know, maybe finally dig out some games and show you guys some games running on it. But I don't know. Like I said, I might be better served just tracking down a slightly older, like slightly slower air-cooled one with less cores. But I've even read those have problems. I know some of the early ones have issues with something about like the RAM popping, like the RAM sockets coming away from the board or something. I don't know. That's just what I think of what I read on Wikipedia. So I don't know. I guess I'll just leave it with like it's potentially a pretty cool machine. I don't know what you do with one now so much, and there's other videos, like 8-Bit Guy did a video on like, is it obsolete, I believe, on these machines. And as of a couple years ago, people still like using them as like servers and like music players or editing machines, but it's probably outlived its usefulness for those applications, really. I'd say it makes a great retro Mac, but I think you're really... I don't know how well these things run older OSs and games with like speed issues and stuff. I guess if you just want to play like OS X games, it's probably like king of the hill for that, but there is not a lot of OS 10 exclusive Mac games. There's like a handful of those, at least according to Wikipedia. So I don't know, not extremely useful. They make good space heaters, I guess people have said, although I haven't found mine to get very hot. But that might be because I have the water cooling in there. So I don't know. I would really appreciate it if any of you guys know what's going on with my machine so I can troubleshoot, get it working. If I can, like I said, I'll do another video with like an SSD and some games. But other than that, that is my quad core Power Mac G5. And remember, if you want one of these, really try, even any of these models, really try hard to find them locally, because I have seen so many shipping disaster stories with these. Just people, they're heavy, they're really heavy, so even properly shipped, sometimes there's accidents. So just keep that in mind if you want one. So thanks for watching. If you like this kind of content, subscribe. I'd love to hear your stories in the comments, even if it has nothing to do with fixing my machine. If you've got stories on the G5 Mac, like your personal machine and how you had fun with one, let me know in the comments, because I love reading those, and I'm sure other people also enjoy reading them. So I will see you in the next video, and have a good one.